Bonjour! Bonjour!
No.
Time for bladder check. Check.
So it's a show?
It's a lifestyle.
It's a religion.
My emotions! My emotions!
I'm still French.
Ouais, c'est pas faux.
I'm a woman, Mary. I can be as contrary as I choose.
Non, moi je crois qu'il faut que vous arrêtiez d'essayer de dire des trucs.
Hello, hi, I'm Laura. I'm gonna watch the Twilight Zone, episode 5. No, season 5, episode 22. As you know it, maybe I'm reacting to some episodes of the Twilight Zone. I'm not gonna react to all of the episodes of all of the different seasons. I'm really gonna react to only some episodes that I picked on IMDb, on the most popular episodes of IMDb. It's not something that I'm gonna do regularly on my channel. It's really a project like that I'm gonna keep for some times on my channel, reacting to some episodes right there. When my schedule is allowing me to react to some episodes, like right now, I'm watching these episodes, but I don't know when I'm gonna be able to post them on YouTube or on Patreon, you know, it's really gonna depend on my schedule. But it's something that I want to do and that I'm glad to do because I'm discovering these episodes, these stories, and each time I'm impressed by the fact that writers during that period of time, they thought of that and it inspired so many movies and shows after that. All of the references that I can pick into them, and really the fact that they were denouncing stuff, society subjects and stuff like that through their stories, and the fact that they had also some modern ideas, you know, in fact. And like the last episode that I watched right there today, it was episode 6 about a living doll, and to imagine that in 1963 they had that idea of a living doll which was committing crime and stuff like that, when you know that the Chucky movies, it began only in 1988. Also, the fact that it can be inspired by that, like when you think that the mom into that story of the episode 6 was named Annabelle, and that now we have movies about Annabelle, an old doll also committing a lot of horrible stuff. Like, it's really amazing to think that they thought about it, they had that idea so long ago, and that it inspired also movies and shows after that, not only with the idea but also maybe with the names and stuff like that. Maybe it was real references from it. And yes, it was also well done, like I said during my review of the last episode, the fact that the doll into that episode, she didn't make a lot of stuff. She was talking and she was disappearing and reappearing, but we didn't see her walking, you know, doing crazy stuff on her own, like it's the case for Chucky. Like Chucky at the end, he could do really a lot of stuff. If I remember stuff correctly, like he could drive, he could... like the doll was insane at the end. That was amazing to discover that, and to have also a real horror episode when maybe the stories that I watched before that, they all had a different mood, they all had a different subject also. Sometimes using horror stuff, I'm thinking about the one with the 3 astronauts, you know, disappearing. Maybe also the one on Maple Street, you can think that it's an horror story, but not that much, you know, it's more drama stories using horror tools, when the last one was really more horror stuff, you know, like true, pure horror stuff. For the episode that I'm gonna watch right now, the episode 22, the only thing that I know is the fact that it's about a Confederate guy, the fact that it was inspired by a novel, I think, I mean by a story which was written and adapted on screen right there with this episode. Each time I'm gonna tell you when this episode was out. This episode was out in February 1964, okay, February 1964. Again, I'm saying to you each time when the episode was out because I really want you guys to understand that sometimes it's amazing that they had that kind of ideas during that period of time, the fact that it could have shocked also a lot of people during that period of time, and also to understand the references coming from it. It's not only because, you know, to explain to you that it's an episode in black and white, but also to explain to you all of the things around it. Like I can remember the Willoughby episode, all of the things about that guy who was working, you know, that job, publicist, all of the things around that. It was really also representing the society during that period of time. So that's why I think that it's also important. And right there, it's also, you know, maybe important for the story itself, because if it's about a Confederate guy, you know all of the story around that. You have to put it into the context also when the episode was out and all of that. Like, is it gonna be a political episode or not? Like, I'm not sure of things, so I really want to say it, you know? It was out during that period of time. Okay, I'm gonna begin this episode right now. Remember that if you want to have my Patreon on which you can have an extended reaction part for this episode, and also you can have them one video sooner each time, and it's the best way to support me. If you appreciate that project, you know that I'm gonna make like that around time, and also maybe other videos that I make on my channel, you have my Patreon. Oh, something that I wanted to say also, the fact that I talked with my parents about this show, about the fact that I was watching it right now. They were surprised that I was watching it right now. They were like, really? You have so many shows that you can discover, why are you coming back to that show in particular? And I explained to them, like I explained to you my choice, the fact that it was a really popular show and it inspired so many movies and shows that I wanted to see it, you know, to watch it on my own for sure, but to see also how much it inspired other shows and movies. And I have so many stuff to say about it each time, like it's really impressing me a lot that I want to share it with you guys. And you know, I was like, did you watch it, you know, when it was out on television, when you were a kid and all? And my mom, she was like, no. I was 2 years old, you know, when it was on television, and my dad, he was like, no, I was really like 7, 8 years old, so no, I didn't watch it on television, I was too young for that. So it was fun to imagine that even my parents, you know, this show was out, was appreciated by people before them. Do you understand what I mean? And you know, because of that, when I met my grandparents some days after that, I talked about it with my grandparents. I was asking my grandmother, did you watch it, the Twilight Zone and all? And she responded to me, no, we did not have television during that period of time. I was like, okay, sorry. I'm watching this show, but in fact no one in my family never watched it. It was fun. Okay, I'm gonna stop this intro. Let's go for this episode. This story, each time I should say this story more than this episode.
For the first time in the 5 years we've been presenting the Twilight Zone, we're offering a film shot in France by others.
In France? I didn't know it. I told you in intro what I knew about that story. I'm sorry. Already, you know, it's filmed differently to have this camera moving like that around a place, but not really on one character. That's a different introduction at least. For now, it's really the cliches, you know, about French movies. Silent and slow ones. Bye-bye. No one is gonna talk during this episode, it's gonna stress me. No, you can't escape. Beginning of the day, clearly with the birds who are beginning to sing in the sun. The Twilight Zone.
Heavy.
You're gonna check? Oh, it's a memory.
Take his watch. Yes, sir.
You know, it was a dream that he had. Yep. You're gonna jump. They didn't want to hang you? Since how long didn't you? Yes, you can do it.
He moves around. He walks around.
If I wouldn't have read the story, the synopsis about the fact that he's a Confederate guy, I would just consider the fact that that guy was supposed to die, that he was sad, that he was afraid. At least they are not presenting bad sides of him, they are just presenting a guy who didn't want to die and managed to survive. Why are they so slow? Walking, talking. You need to learn how to aim. Clearly, thanks to the Twilight Zone, you were not supposed to die. Ah! Let. I don't know about filming into the water. You know, 64? It's not even that fast. Oh. For now, this episode is really about the sound, you know, not really the story. I'm meaning by that this guy, we didn't hear his voice. Yes, when he said Libby, the sound of the river, the sound of the nature around, the birds. Glad to be alive? Soon he's gonna make an engine, you know, into the sound. Can't you walk? Running. That traveling, you know, is great. For now, no cut into it. Okay, cut. That was a long one. You know how much I love that into movies and shows, and at least how much I paid attention to it. It's really difficult to do it. For now, it's really the story of a man who was supposed to die and who is just trying to survive. We don't know why he was supposed to die, why they want to kill him that much. He's fighting really hard to stay alive. That's a good picture. All of this episode, it's the picture and the sound. It's like it's creating a suspense. Your place? Maybe you came back from? The place from your dream and also the music from your dream. It's not real. We're seeing that again and again. See, it's like when you're running into a dream, when you can't really catch a thing into a dream. She's crying into your dream.
Occurrence of Owl Creek Bridge in two forms. As it was dreamed and as it was lived, a thread of imagination. The ingredients of the Twilight Zone.
Cool, really cool. More than the story, you know, it's really the meaning behind it, which is interesting, and also how it was filmed, which is really interesting. The meaning behind it, we have the conclusion at the end, the fact that he was dreaming all of that moment. The moment that he was crying and he was afraid of dying and he didn't want to die. And you know, it was taking them time to prepare his death, and he just knew that he would die. During all of that moment, he imagined that he could survive, like he could in fact go into the water, survive into the water, manage to get all of the things, you know, of him, survive to all of their bullets, survive to the river, to be able to run that much, that long. It would take time and all, but no matter what, he would reach his home, his wife, his girl, something like that. That was a dream that he had, you know, maybe it can happen, maybe I can survive and all. During all of this time, like, he knew that he would die. And we saw, you know, a beginning of it, him dreaming of going to his home, and I even said, is it a memory or is it a dream? In fact, I think that it was a mix of that. During all of the rest of the episode, in fact, we have another version of it, a more realistic version of it, of that dream of surviving and going back. So for the meaning of it, it's cool, you know, the idea behind it is great. I mean, the idea behind that story, all of that moment. And something which is really interesting for me is the fact that it's how it's done. The fact that all of this episode, we didn't have a lot of lines, you know, a lot of things being said and all. Even more, you know, by the main character. I think that we heard his voice really once, and another time he lost. But we didn't hear really his voice, we didn't know why they wanted to kill him, we didn't know who he was trying to reach, you know, until the end. We didn't know anything, the story was not important, but really the meaning of it and really how it was done, because it was only sounds and pictures, you know, at the end. Almost, you know, like it could have been a mute episode, like really the classic mute episode story in black and white during not that period of time, but some years before that, with just a story happening on screen and musicians playing on it. And right there, really, we began the episode, it was slow and it was only the birds beginning to sing at the beginning of the day, and all of these men walking on that bridge. After that, we had the sound of him running, you know, into the water and all. We had the sound of the water. After that, we had the sound of people firing at him. After that, we had the sound of the river, all of that. After that, we had the sound of him into the sound. After that, we had the sound of him running with the music like that. After that, you know, it was really no words, no lines, no one talking, and only the sounds dictating the action, dictating the emotions, dictating the story, what was happening, and for sure the pictures. And again, for me, this episode is great because of the attention, you know, to the sounds, but also to the pictures. I said it during the episode, we had some moments when he was running, it was uncut scenes, and they're always great and they're always difficult to make into shows and movies. So it's always cool when you can pay attention to it into shows and movies and to see how long they are lasting, how difficult it can be. Like right there, he was running during that moment, so you have to imagine that the camera has to run also with him, and also it's interesting to pay attention to it. And we have also, yes, some other good pictures, like this moment when they are firing at him, and in fact he's, you know, the trees are blocking that and we can see it through them, like them. All of that moment, you know, into the river, that was cool. Also the fact that they could film under the water. Again, you have to think that it's in 64 that it's filmed. I'm sure that it was the beginning of, you know, camera which can go under the water. 64, guys, I'm sure that it was the beginning of it. So, you know, to have an uncut scene like that with traveling cameras, with a camera which can go under the water, with some good pictures at some moments. Again, I think that this episode, this story is cool because the story is not important, but really the meaning of it, and the story is not important, but it's cool because of how it's filmed, done, the sounds, the pictures. It's pretty cool for that. It changed, you know, to have something like that. At the beginning I was really like, okay, we have really all of the cliches that people can have about a French show, a French movie, something slow, something which is taking a lot of time without anyone talking. Really all of the cliches that you can have of French movies and shows. But at the end, it's in fact the purpose of this episode, of this story, to have really no one talking and to have a story made only with sounds and pictures, and for a meaning, you know, at the end, a plot twist at the end. It's cool, so cool. And again, it changed. You know, after watching the last episode, the episode 6 of this season 5, you know, the living doll, with really horror stuff, with that doll who was threatening that guy, to have now an episode like that, it's really proving me again that this show, the Twilight Zone, offered so many different stories, so many different subjects, but also so many different ways to film them, to present them and all. And again, during that period of time, to think that they did that during that period of time, it's impressive for me. Not because I think that people during that period of time were stupid, but I think, you know, about the technical things that they had into their possession to do that. And I'm like, technically, sometimes, I mean, it was more difficult, I really think so. And also, it was modern to think about that during that period of time. I didn't know at all that it was a French production. You had during the intro, you know, what I thought, what I knew about it, the fact that it was about a Confederate guy, and the fact that it was adapted from a novel. That was the only things that I knew, but I didn't know that it was a French production. Okay. It doesn't change anything, I think, for the way that it's done and all. I'm not sure that it had an impact. Cool! I'm gonna watch one more episode of the Twilight Zone today. Again, don't ask me when you're gonna have it. I mean, if you're watching this on YouTube, you already have that next video on my Patreon, because on Patreon we have one video of advance. But again, I don't know when I'm gonna post these videos on Patreon and on YouTube. I'm filming them right there, so I know that I have them if I want to present some episodes to you, but I don't know when I'm gonna post them. Okay, so it's all for you for today, and it's all for me for now, so bye for now. Bye!
Wait a minute, Doc. Are you telling me that you built a time machine?
Hey.